Good morning. I'm Denise Dryden. I do this weekly Sunday morning video, and it's on a lot of different sites. So it's on my LinkedIn, my website, on Facebook here live, and also on YouTube. So if you have a chance, click it, subscribe, like, because I bring information to you each week that I hope is poignant, to the point. And today I want to talk about, how do you say those tough things that need to be said? And so the first question I would ask is, have you ever found yourself fudging on addressing something like, I'm going to say it softer. I might not say it at all. I'm going to hold back. I'm going to dip my toe in it and go I'll talk about this a little bit, but not a lot, right? Or the flip side is, I'm going to tell them. And then you tell them and then you're angry, right? Or you're full of resentment, or there's this big push of fire energy that comes at you while you're trying to talk, and you're like, well, at least I said how I felt, right? That's their problem. I have a friend who wrote a poem who basically said, I threw up on my friend today, which is I just had to say something, but blah, I just let it all out, right? So it seems like right now that we need to create ways to talk about what's going on and to be able to leave our comfort zones and do that with some wisdom and some maturity, and with creating a pathway so future conversations can happen, not just sort of a once and done. Because what we're doing is we're healing relationships. We're healing relationships with ourselves in order to stand up and be true with one other person that we may be intimate or have a very close relationship with. We're healing our family, we're healing our community, we're healing our world. And so this means we have to talk about this tough stuff in a really different way. So what doesn't work is when we make assumptions if they really loved me, if they really cared about me, they would know what I'm thinking. They would know what I'm upset about, right? Not so, that doesn't really work. Second thing is the reactions, which is, when we're talking, I have these stories that come up, and when my stories come up, there's this is how I am going to react because it hits a painful spot. You sound like my mother, you sound like my daughter, you sound like my ex-husband, you sound like this, right? The other one is hiding, which is pretending it'll go away, okay, and then just putting your head down and changing, going to a different part of the room, avoiding having that conversation. That doesn't work. And the one that I love the most is stewing about it, where you don't say anything when it happens, you don't do anything about the issue, but you sit in your head and you tell yourself stories I can't believe they did this, and then I should have said this, or if I said that, then they could have done this, and then you spin this energy all the time, which means that you are not changing the world. You are not helping because you're in this negative spin all the time. Okay, so what I want to talk about too is that, our throat chakras, our voice needs to come up and it needs to come out. And so what we want to do is we want to take that information and we want to bring it up through and we want to bring it out. And so to me, I came up with a 4-step process. Well, I was talking with a friend who was a fellow coach, and we were talking, and all of a sudden I got my notepad out and I'm like, I think I have to talk about this. And she's like, yeah. So the first thing is that, you are the steward of this soul at this time on the 3D plane. In other words, so translate that, you're the only person who's going to take care of you. You're in charge of you. You're in charge of your feelings, your emotions, your experiences, and how you're going to take care of this body while you're here, right? So you hold your sovereignty on this earth, and you're challenged on an hourly and daily basis on safety and advocacy. And so, to me, this is that earth sign, that earth element, the 3D, where we really have to just take care of this body and navigate it through the earth. Make sense? Second thing is that it takes courage. And I have a couple of cards here, which are really fun. I love this Osho card because this is what it takes to kind of break through all of the old patterns, all the old crap, and sort of come up, and not just to make it to the top, but to get up to the top and absolutely shine. if I go, this is in the Osho deck, if I go over to the Spacious Tarot, similar concept, you know, the flower on the thorny cactus with the clouds and the desert in the background in the extreme, right? So this is, you know, it is also absolutely fire, you know, because it means that we have to address, oh, I'm going to go into an area where there's something really uncomfortable and I've got passion and I've got to bring some momentum and I've got to do it now. I can't wait. I have to face what scares me. And, you know, it takes a lot of courage, because sometimes when you say something to someone that is your truth about what you need, they have their own choice of what they're going to do. So sometimes we lose things, or it costs us something. So it takes a lot of courage. So I'm going to call that the fire element, right? We have to harness this courage and bring it up and get ready to push it out. The third thing is that we have to use our skills. We don't just sort of go into it for the very first time and go, oh, well, I think I'm just going to say this. You might, you know, mentally walk through it a couple times, find out what the real core issue is and what it is that bothers you the most, or what it is that you're seeing. And then start easy. Start to say what you think naturally to people who are safe, people who are strangers. You know, like someone says, an example, someone gives you the wrong ice cream cone and some people just go, I like this anyway. And or just say, no, I'm sorry, I asked for practice. And sometimes those are going to be the really scary ones. So find the ones that are the safest and address mistakes, address feelings, address correcting concepts as best as you can. So this is sort of that mental process, right? Where we bring together the construct of what it is that's really going on. And then the fourth part is to say it with love. And, you know, when John Lennon says, all we need is, you know, all we need is love, when the main answers are just love them, it's kind of an obscure concept, because love is emotions, love is water. But it means that we have to be ultimately honest and true. We have to be real. And we have to sort of have this neutrality that whatever your reaction is going to be okay. And so love isn't a concept of I care about this person enough to. Love is a vibration that we hold that says, I am going to hold this space while we talk about this. And so love is, you're safe here. You're going to be okay with me when we talk about this, right? And on the Sacred Rebels card, you know, I brought up this, it says she feels and she knows. So it's what happens when you feel that there's something coming up and you know that you have to. And then another one of hers, which I love, is you have to trust yourself. So look at all these different components that are sort of part of her. So you have to trust myself enough to know that when I hold this truth, that it comes out. And the last one on the Sacred Rebels, before I go into my tips, I liked this one. It's called Focus on the Light. And what I thought was interesting was that this could be physical, this could be air, this could be fire, and then we have this center in here, which is that radiant light. And so, you know, what we're doing is we're not just holding one thing, we're sort of using all of the elements to harness. How are we going to say what needs to be said? So the tip that I would use is from, you know, a couple of examples. I'm going to walk through a teen, adolescent, parent situation, since that's the one I've been dealing with the most. And we're going to apply that to other ones. But the first thing is that you pay attention and you observe. And you collect information and you kind of look at like patterns, and you watch this kiddo and you're like, you know, this kid's struggling with overwhelm and is self-medicating. We've been up and down this route a lot, right? So the first tip is that you pay attention and you look for repetitive patterns. It's not spying, it's not lurking. What you're doing is you're collecting information that's useful to you. Like, it can sort of help with your concern of, well, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm noticing. You might look at avoidant behaviors. You might look at school assignments. You might look at what might be going on, right? So the second thing is to harness that courage to address it, to say what needs to be said, and to know that in the past there may have been fights, there may have been denial, like, you don't know what you're talking about, you're wrong, that's not mine, all the things that go on when you try to hold a kid or let's just transfer it to anybody accountable for when they're in overwhelm or self-medicating or both, right? And it's uncomfortable. So you have to have the courage, just again, as we talked about, to go, this is going to get uncomfortable. Okay. And the third thing is to practice the ways to say it. So we're going to harness that air and that mental, because what we want to do is we want to stay in balance. If we tip, we want to get back. We want to be stable. We want to realign when we're triggered, because someone's going to say, well, you just always say this, or my favorite is when I'm coaching one of my moms who's working with a teen, is that, you don't know what you're talking about. You're so paranoid. And then all of a sudden it's gaslighting her on what's wrong with her rather than letting the truth come out. Okay, so this is going to happen, and you practice. I'm going to wobble. When I wobble, how do I get back? I breathe. I stabilize my core. I make sure my knees are slightly bent, and I just let it flow over me, right? And the fourth thing is to stay calm and caring in all the forms and stances of love. Does that make sense? It's almost like love's going to come in a lot of different ways. And so you say as calm as you can with that form of love. I noticed, and I wonder. So there is this additional thing I'm noticing, right? So it might look like I've noticed that you're using nicotine again. And I've witnessed this for the last year, at least 3 times. And I noticed that when you start purchasing and hiding nicotine, that it's a familiar pattern, and it means that something else might be going on. So let me know how I can support you. And I'm here. So what you do is you call it out. You say the tough thing. I noticed, I found, I'm dealing with something that I collected. I'm noticing that's part of what has happened before in the past. I don't know if this is happening again, but if it is, I'm here. I'm here for your support. I'm here to support you, and I'm here for you, right? So what we do is we calm our system down, and we say the really tough thing. And we say it with as much calm as we can. So another example is, I notice that there are times when we get together that you want to talk about politics with me. And what I'd like to be really clear on with you is that I don't want to come to these and talk politics with you. So is there something else we can talk about? So what you do is you hold your boundary. You speak the tough thing, but you speak it with calmness. Because there's times when we want to zing them, like, I don't believe every single time we come to this party, you want to bring up politics. I'm not doing that with you. That's a little snarky. Or my favorite is, oh, there she is, and you duck and you go spend time on the other part of the room because you just don't want to deal with it. So here's where this courage, the practice, and the love really, really pays off every single time. Because love is fierce, and love is strong, and it's confident, and it's observant, and it is responsive. Here's the Osho deck of the King of Cups, where the heart is present. The hand and the gut are there, but they're not the predominant piece, right? Because it's responsive. And when we say something important and we say it with love, this is how we change our circle. This is how we change our community. This is how we change our world. So this is the stuff I've been doing a lot lately with, which is coaching into that vibration of love and being able to courageously say what needs to be said. If you want more information, you can find me on DeniseDrydenCoaching.com. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Honor all that needs to be addressed during this weekend. And I will see you next week. Take care.